great honor to introduce Ciara Cumiskey. Cumiskey. Okay, it's one of those. She'll figure it out. Okay, just a tad bit of an introduction. Ciara is a visual artist and a graphic designer. She has a binary fascination with the very old art to the very new art. And her subjects include still life, portraits, and scenes. So with that, I'd like to turn you over to Ciara, or Ciara, turn you over to, you talk.
And Carolyn, let's get a sound check here and make sure her volume's good.
Hello. Hello. I can also talk loud. Is that good?
It's on, right?
Folks hear me? Well, no, is it okay if I just stand up for a second?
Are we hearing her? People in the
hear
back,
me?
can you
Hello?
hear from the speaker?
Yeah? Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right. Well, then, just so you in the back can see me for a hot second, before we dive into the presentation, hi. Kathy's right, I would figure it out. My name is Ciara Cumiskey. So I'm very excited to be here this afternoon. So thank you, Placerville Arts Association, for having me. I'm very excited to do this art presentation and a mini demo folded in here as well too. There's a little handout over here with a little bit of information about me, and then a little little optional thinking, planning on the back for yourself if you are so inclined later. But let's dive into it, okay? So for my subject today for our presentation, and I'll take questions at the end if anybody has any, this is my multimedia journey from concept to masterpiece. And yeah, so let's just dive into that. So first of all, what is multimedia? No joke, I had to double check this for myself. So multimedia simply is using more than one medium of expression or communication, a multimedia art form, the variety of artistic or communicative media. Maybe sometimes you're thinking, you probably made some mixed media art yourself or seen that on an art label. In my approach, in my process, I tend to use one ultimate art form, but I'm using multiple disciplines to create that end product that you're seeing. I use multiple disciplines, almost their own mediums, to get there. And my key mediums, I would say, as a visual artist, are that I have a strong background in drawing, painting, much more apparently. I'm also, as Kathy mentioned, a graphic designer. That is my day job, where I do flyers, posters, social media graphics, that kind of thing. And then lastly, in that fun wheelhouse, is some photography as well too. I actually have been very fond of photography for quite a while, but I'm a painter for a reason. So, a little bit about that background is my education in both of those. My creativity training actually started with graphic design. I got my associates in graphic design at community college, and strangely enough, of all of those design programs, you might have also heard graphic design referred to as desktop publishing, that kind of thing. So that's things you may have heard of Photoshop or Quark Express, InDesign. Early web applications were things like Dreamweaver, stuff like that. And then later, a few years later, I went back to college, and then I shifted gears a wee bit, and I got my bachelor's in studio art painting. These are two pieces that I made from college. And even though my focus was typically always in graphic design and painting, you can see this is a painting from a similar photo shoot, and then me messing around in my living room, and my friend posing for some photographs. I was that roommate that is just stringing up weird, like, plastic butterflies from the ceiling. So if you ever had that roommate in college, that was me. Okay, so how it started, going back a little bit of the history, this is on the left is my first gallery show in January 2013. It was a open call, show up and you can hang a painting. So I drove an hour to go hang a painting at an open call show. And then more recently, I was selected in a juried process to participate in 30 by 30 with Blue Line Arts this past winter. So, feeling pretty good. So, all of these disciplines. Now we're talking about drawing, graphic design, painting, and photography. I'm going to break down one specific painting that I have brought with me here, this nature scene inspired by Orangevale, which is this painting here. And I'm going to break down this process and even show you the graphic design photo compositing part that I started to make to accomplish this painting. So, partially into the pandemic, Orangevale Chamber of Commerce is doing a call for art. They want to do a utility box wrap on one of the smud boxes along the main street. I would love to do something like that. And immediately, I keep holding this like a mic, but it's really not. It's already attached to my shirt. So,
We can give you the other one if you prefer.
Oh, I'm going to start doing a type 5 stand-up set if we go that way. So we're going to stick with this. So they're doing this call. I love Orangevale. I specifically love driving around and looking at all the horses. So I'm like, okay, I already know what I want to do. I need to do this elongated scene. So it's not in here. I couldn't find the photos for it. But first off, I go to the utility box itself, measure the box, take some photos of the sides of it, kind of get an idea what kind of sizing or kind of scale canvas layout am I going to need. Okay, now let's actually drive to Orangevale. So I did. And I took a bunch of pictures. So these are a handful of like maybe 60 pictures that I took out like one cold January day. So my favorite was this little donkey. You can probably tell he doesn't make it to the final cut. But I like looking around to get inspiration for what's actually in the scene that's actually going to fit this thing that I'm creating in my imagination. So I have all these photos, and then next steps is I actually start putting them into a scene. And I'm starting to do this with Photoshop. And actually off on the left side, you can see I'm actually pulling from a painting I'd already made with oranges in it and seeing if I could incorporate that into the scene somehow itself too. The time of year I'm going out in January, like I couldn't really get any good scenes or without getting on someone's private property. Look at their orange tree. So, you want to be respectful of people's property. So I took photos, from like the street or what was like publicly available. So I'm trying to like work in that scene though, because I really want to get this rural aspect of the community. So I'm starting to compile these together, and these lines, the arrows, I'm really big on the rule of thirds for a lot of my compositions, but for this one I had to divvy it up a little differently. Those lines the arrows are pointing to are delineating the sides of the utility box, and what I'm trying to get in the center of each one of those panels is like something eye-catching, so as it wraps around the entire box, there's something present, clear focus. Flip to the other side, present, clear focus. So that would be oranges on one side, this cute little crane on the other side, horses, and then maybe oranges. But you can see things start to change. So this is closer to the final photo composite. And you may see, oh, there's that crane from the photos before. Here's that little house in the background. I didn't like my orange painting over here, but I flipped it around and I went over here. That peacock would not stand up for me when I was taking pictures of it. It actually ran into a bush. So at that point, I'm like, okay, well, a peacock does exist there. a couple of them actually. Let me, now at this point, since I cannot get my own peacock photo, I'm gonna go find a peacock photo. And even these bushes in the back, those are there too. This lake, I'm just gonna step back here for a second. Like here's the little pond. Here's that fence that's on the side of the horse. Here's a closer up of that little shack. This horse was my main inspiration. I'm like, oh, I really like that gold chestnutty color. There's the little crane, but I'm moving it around. Like, I'm like, okay, little crane, your feet work really well to go into the ripples of the pond. Ducks, I'd seen some of them, couldn't get a great photo, start like sourcing something from that. And then just something like asymmetrical and coming in that'll tie these two panels to each other as it wraps around, okay? So now like let's step back. Now actually as I do all that, I have to draw all of it on the canvas too. And I feel like, oh, we're gonna break for a second. Let me show you what this actually looks like in Photoshop, okay? So we'll just go over this for a couple of minutes, but basically this is the program I use to composite my photos. I have a short demo in here. Well, if the signal's really good, we'll do a very simple one in Canva with some very simple tools. But basically, I start cutting all of these out. And if I can actually bring this up, like the box sides, I apologize, this is very faint. I can't restore the original opacity, but let me turn off some of these other ones. You can start to see like there's actually the boxes on the side, and like I try to line those up and then start kind of like building my composition around it. I apologize, I know that's really faint, but I'm trying to think of the final canvas the entire time throughout the process. We don't always have to get that into it, but in this case I had a specific mission, so I was a little more like uptight, for lack of a better term. But all these elements are like movable. So like here's this orange tree. If I wanted to, like it's kind of masked out. I can like just like be like, you know what? I don't like any of this, and I can start moving stuff around. Maybe like this duck just makes me upset, and like he needs to leave. But all of these elements become layers. So like each object is now its own item. So I can kind of turn them off, as you saw before, like move them around, like try stuff out. Maybe I need to flip it, like the painting I had originally over here. Like it started on this side, but eventually just fit better into the composition over here. So in various capacities, I use this a lot when I tend to get a bit more imaginative. In this particular scene, I love me some realism so much. Like I love things looking like this is the scale it should be, and that's in the distance, and it should be smaller. But for this type of project, it was more of, I felt like some atmospheric perspective, and getting design-ish was going to be fine, because I'm trying to communicate something about the overall, like Orangevale encompassing, almost kind of like making my own cool postcard, if you will, and just having a little bit more fun with it. So like this is the first time I ever worked in that vein. Like I said, I love me some realism. That tree is over there. Make it really small. So this was actually a challenge for me because I've never played with those items. Like this peacock is about the size of the horse. We know that's not right, but it's okay, because it's more about this having some resonance, making an impression with folks that might be enjoying it. So in its own way, this also still presented a lot of challenges for me. Be like, okay, I gotta let that go and play with this scale factor, but also make it aesthetically pleasing. And that's where we start getting back to some of that kind of graphic design stuff, and how it, in the most simplest way, in any composition, you don't have to be a graphic designer, but in any composition, you have some type of hierarchy of elements. Like, right? Like you probably have your main subject, who's like the key focus, and then the background is probably something that's important to your meaning of your piece, but you want it a little less noticeable, so it's not pulling from maybe the beautiful flower that you're trying to paint, or like a niece or a grandchild. Like you want, this is your focus, here's some cute things, her puppy. And then the background is kind of like just a little misty and dull. You have your own, what's really important. It's a hierarchy of elements. And that's literally one of the first graphic design principles they teach you, because you need to get that right or it's going to be really hard. Okay, moving on, like getting back to the canvas. Now we have to draw all of it on canvas. I used a little bit of carbon paper for some of this because especially when it gets to the horse, we want that musculature and everything to really kind of be defined. I wanted this to have that realism look to it. So I'm like, I want to get these lines right, and then I'll worry about getting it really right in paint. And I still feel like this plays into drawing is underpainting as well too. To me, underpainting really feels like drawing with charcoal. And just starting to make that tonality, like we're starting to shape some light in our pieces as well too. And you can start seeing elements changing. Like there's still a fence in here. Even though I'm doing this photo compositing process and it's a little rough, there's still actually a ton of decisions and creative stuff you're going to make in the moment as well too. Like I was really set on that farm fence being in there, that metal like gate fence, and it's like lightly drawn in there because I don't really need to paint to it till I get to the front. But as you can tell, like it doesn't make it to the end cut because it didn't work as I was painting it. And you can still see it's in there, and I'm starting to work back to front. I don't want a super busy background, so like just a light gradient of the sky changing colors. We're gonna stay a little warm as we're on the horizon, get a little colder as we ascend, and then getting close to finished. I'm gonna move this little mouse. And you can even see my references. If you look at the desk, you can see like I'm looking at the horse picture to make sure I get some of those things right. And then some things getting simplified. Like I'm like, okay, this just needs to be plain earth back here. If I make this too busy, like it's just gonna draw us into the painting. And I don't need them to be for this application, I don't need them to come inside. I need them to take in the scene of what I felt was descriptive of Orangevale. Do it okay on time? Yeah. Okay, and then this is the final product. So, all right, I'm just checking my notes here.
And this was printed and put on a signal box?
That part is still in process.
Okay.
So.
But that's what you were shooting for?
Yes,
this would have, the end goal would be to print and put this wrapped on a box.
Correct. And it was selected for that. The implementation just hasn't happened yet. So thank you for that clarification question, Linnell. This was ultimately chosen to be on one of the two boxes that they were going to be doing this program for. Okay, so that's the final product, but here's what I really started with. So there's still a lot of decisions and honestly more fun to be had in this part of it, but this is a really fun challenge and creative way for me to actually draw out what's in my imagination. I do have some, well, you'll see some later in the presentation too, but I do have like a sketch or two as well too, so sometimes I am just working from like, oh, here's just a doodle as well, but when I want to have that real finesse and I want it to look like realism, this is the process I'm going to go into. So now we're going to make something, and we're going to see how this works with the connection, okay? So here's our concept. We're going to make a creature on vacation. Maybe you remember this little donkey from earlier in the presentation. He didn't make it the final cut. Well, he's going to be our star today. So let's see how it goes. These are the tools. If we are doing a Canva version of it, this is the simplest one, and also the more low-cost way to do it. So in Canva, which is a very it's like a graphic design desktop publishing program with tons of templates to adjust for your use. there's 3 tools that are all going to be under Edit Photo, and those are going to be Remove Background, Adjustments, and Special Effects. So this is one I whipped up in a couple of minutes last night. Let's see if we can make something a tiny bit more fun. But again, this will be dependent on how the Wi-Fi is going, okay? So be kind, all right? So I already have some elements here. I'm backing out. Let me make this a little bit smaller. I'm gonna make this as large as I can for this screen. So you can see I set these up a little bit. I love my rule of thirds. You can see I already have some guides in here to split this up. An easy tool that you can bring into anything, doesn't matter. You don't have to do any tech whatsoever. But like a rule of thirds is an easy tool you can use for any composition to make your piece potentially a little bit more intriguing for yourself. So literally you're just gonna split your sizing, whatever you're using, into thirds. And at one of those intersections, you're gonna try and put something kind of visually interesting. And it doesn't just have to be like a thing. It can be abstract as well too. Like it doesn't have to be the donkey himself, right? It could be the donkey. It could also be a point of contrast, like the lightest part of the painting and the darkest point of the paint touching on each other. It might be a focal point. Maybe this donkey's gigantic. And the interesting thing might be like I'm gonna put his eye here and put a little fleck of light on there, and something interesting, and it's just gonna it's a little more intriguing than putting stuff like flat in the center. Hey, and all rules are meant to be broken, so nothing's like super hard and fast. But when you have a good understanding and start playing with the rules, it gets a lot easier to break them. Okay, so let's put this donkey on vacation. Okay, so I have, hello donkey. We're going to go to Edit Photo over here on the top left. And again, this is going to be dependent on signal, all right? So I have the donkey selected, and I'm going to click Background Remover. And this feature is amazing. This was not in here when Canva first came out. They added it a few years ago. And I'm not gonna lie, I use Canva sometimes at work. I still kind of prefer dropping out and masking my subjects myself, but sometimes this is just really nice and fast. Key emphasis on sometimes. So, all right, the donkey, that's a pretty good cutout, right? We can still actually, if we get really close in here, if I wanted to paint this guy in full detail, that's some pretty nice masking. We still have like those little feathery hairs coming off the end. What it did not pick up is the wire fence in there. So let's see. Okay, I'm going to make this a little small. I'm going to try and paint out some of the fence. We'll get to you later, sunglasses.
Is this the paid version or the free version?
Unfortunately, all of those are Pro Tools.
Okay, I just wanted to make that point. So if you download the demo for free, you're not going to see these tools.
Yeah, I learned this as well too, because I do use Canva sometimes, but I currently just pay for Adobe, so I just do everything in Photoshop. But in making this, I had to get the paid version. So yes, a lot of these features are in the paid version. They're not in the free version, but you can still get a bunch of sweet stuff like templates, and if you're not looking to get super custom in there, you can still find a lot of nice stuff in the free version. So I wouldn't totally knock it. And there is a 30-day trial. Okay, so I have Donkey in here. I'm just gonna kind of narrow this a little bit. I don't need to make the entire fence invisible. Maybe just enough to put him on vacation. Let's see. Okay, let's go back into Edit Photo, and let's try Magic Eraser to get rid of some of this. Again, I'm not going to worry about this stuff on the far left and the far right, because those aren't going to be in my composition. I'm worried about the stuff right next to my new donkey friend, so that it's a little less of an eyesore if I choose to paint this guy later. So maybe I just kind of want to like get rid of some of this, and we're just gonna a little close to his nose, and we'll just see how it comes out. And again, some of this is always going to be like internet speed connection too. I do have all of these to do in Photoshop, as well too, but I wanted to keep this all as easy as possible. And this is the lower cost program of the two. So, but this is all very easily doable in Photoshop too. And then this is probably the biggest eyesore, is this pole. So I'm just gonna get rid of some of this, so he can really enjoy that beach and not remember that he has to go back to work guarding horses or sheep. So I did play with this a little bit. So the program isn't perfect in that I did try some of these fences that are overlapping on like these highlights here, the lighter parts of his fur where there's more light, was not that good. So, but if I was doing something like this in painting, you know, I have the joy of being human Photoshop so that I can just not paint it. And as you can see, some of this is time dependent on your signal as well too. So, so we might not mask out as much as I was originally planning, so we can get into some other adjustments while this little thing turns. Yeah. So,
Pro is
And then-
$120 a year.
Thank you. I should remember because I just paid that. And there is a monthly option as well too. If you're like, I just want to play with this for a couple of months and then I'm gonna not, like, I know I'm just not gonna use it for a while. Wow, that is taking a while.
It's a big swipe.
It was a big swipe. I was feeling really ambitious.
Yeah.
So I probably should have stuck with just the sunglasses. But this is the great thing about art and another medium is like sometimes things just don't go as you planned and you get to pivot with that and just like embrace it and be like, okay, that didn't work the way I thought it would. I'm going to do it really differently next time.
Well, it's actually really good that you're experiencing this because a lot of our people here have fairly slow internet connections, and if they encounter something like this, they'll realize they're not doing anything wrong. They just need to wait because so many of our users think when this starts to happen that they've done something wrong, and you haven't. You just have to be patient.
Well said, Linnell. You do have to be patient. I use another wonderful program called Illustrator that helps me do fantastic projects, and it crashes all the time. So much so that I have to completely restart my entire workstation. And sometimes it'll still crash after that restart. So part of me just wants to open this in Photoshop so bad. So, all right.
Which may happen here in any second.
I think it will. So let's open this. I'm going to close this one because this thing is gigantic. I'm just going to freeze everything now. I brought this on myself. All right, let's close this thing first. I don't need to save the changes. All right. Honestly, I'm a smidge more comfortable in this anyway. So, oh yay. This is already going so much better. Okay, so, great. I'm going to, right away in Photoshop, I'm going to select subject. This is probably going to do this nice and cleanly. That's okay. Let's change. I'm going to pick out the quick selection tool. I'm hitting Alt to remove some of this selection. And we'll just get rid of these little guys over here. A little bit of this greenery. And I'm going to zoom in here. I can skip some of that out. Okay. And then I'm going to copy him. And let's go to the beach. All right. Oh my gosh. That
He's big.
That donkey's on vacation. Like he is here and he wants to be up front in that photo. Okay? So many fun things you can do in here. And these are some, I'm gonna keep this as simple as possible. Under edit, you can go to transform and you have a variety of tools. Like you can rotate stuff. Maybe you need to, maybe you want to make a beautiful cake look like it's falling off a table. Just rotate it. And now it looks like it's falling. In this case, we're going to scale this vacation kid down. And nice. So how do we feel about that size? Like bigger? We want a bigger donkey. All right. That's kind of good. That's kind of good. All right. And, okay. And let's get those sunglasses in here. I'm going to go select. I'm going to go subject again. This is so much faster than Canva for now. I'm going to pick that quick selection tool again. I'm hitting shift to add this. I'm not going to worry about the shadows right now because I'm human Photoshop. I'll fix it later in post. I am post. So I'm going to transform again. Oh my gosh, this scale transform. There's already so much magic possible right here. And so do we feel like our donkey is wearing the sunglasses or they're like up at his ears?
No, he should be wearing them.
I agree. It's pretty bright out. Like, let's protect those eyes. So, but there's something a little off about that. Let's skew these a smidge just to kind of like tilt them on his face. I always just kind of go back and forth on these tools. I'm just to skew them a little bit. Back a little bit. Just gonna get a little custom look. It looks a little funky, but then when you hit enter, it kind of smooths out a little bit. Ooh, what if I want to be really extra? This is really fun. So I'm actually going to put this one on top of here. I'm going to add a mask. Let's zoom in here and let's make, if I'm choosing these right, I'm going to make this brush super small and let's see. Oh, I put the mask on the wrong layer. I want to do it on the sunglasses. Okay. No, I do want it on the donkey. So, and then I want to fill that in black. And I don't get to do, this is the part, I've done paint classes. This part I usually just do in my office alone. So I'm not used to performing this one with folks. So it's a little different. Okay, there's my sunglasses. If I did this right, I don't think I'm doing this right. Eden, what am I doing wrong?
Are you on the, I can't see, but you would need to
Oh,
go
here
on
we
the
go.
sunglasses.
I got it.
Yeah.
All right, I got it. I'm on the wrong one. So I called Eden out because I know Eden does a lot of photography. So, all right, so I'm lowered the opacity on this and I'm just going to kind of bring in some of these hairs a little bit if I were to be that nitpicky about it. And just to get some of those little wisps kind of hanging over here. Just a little bit, and I'm going to pretend that that's kind of coming around the front. Like, he's just a little fuzzy boy. All right, there we go. That's feeling a little bit more like he's on vacation. Okay. And then a last simple, easy thing on this is I'm actually just going to go to the background and I'm going to, let's say if I just wanted to change these, well, first let's reset this back to the full opacity. Yeah, we got that little bit of hair. Those bangs, if you will, on the sunglasses. He's kind of relaxed. He's been there for a few minutes. Maybe he has a Mai Tai. I don't know what's happening. But he does. So let's say I want to change those colors a little bit. I can also go over to edit, and we're going to go to adjustments, or image and adjustments. You can get another level into like the nitty-gritty of all of these and learn their nuance. But if you're just starting out, these are some quick adjustments you can make. The ones I tend to do, if I'm doing my own photography, I tend to adjust the levels a lot. But in this case, let's just play with the colors and make it a little more trippy. So let's see. I'm selecting the mask layer. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be on the background. See guys, performance anxiety. Okay, adjustments. Let's go to hue, saturation again. Okay, now I'm on the background. I want to make this beach scene a little crazier. So let's say, I'm gonna make it a little pinkish. I'm kind of liking that pink opposed to kind of like a little bit of a compliment off of those greens. They got a little bit more viridian in there. So, and that already went way off the rails than I planned on, so I'm gonna move on. Thank you for understanding. Okay, so a couple of tricks you can, and like I did that in a couple of minutes, and I'm nervous, so it's taking me longer than it would usually. What I'm trying to say in all of that is you could do this pretty quickly yourself too, with a little bit of breathing space and on your own without a bunch of people looking at you. So it could go really well for you too. Probably better. So,
Well, often when I try to do this,
Yeah.
I just want to kill myself and other people.
oh my.
So it's not easy, and she's very fast. So don't let her put herself down.
Well, thank you, Lena. Thank you. All right, so back to the presentation, because I promise this is all going somewhere. If it'll let me get back, we're going to present, and we're going to do full screen anytime now. Am I supposed to be done with this? Oh, I guess I was. Okay. See, there's so much to learn, no matter how much you do this stuff for your day job.
So now we're back in Canva. Did it really remove the post while we were waiting? It looks like it did.
It did! Magic! Yes, I would like to present at my own pace. Okay, one more time, Canva. Oh, here we go. Well, I don't know why it's not letting me go full screen on this. Let me. I'm just going to shut this other stuff down. So, one more time. Magic. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, where was I? Okay, so our donkey went on vacation. All right, so using that kind of process, that photo compositing thing, that photo compositing process, and like that kind of hierarchy, I want to have a simple focus, some background stuff. I use that concept to make a handful of pieces, at least a few a year. And I can still do some imaginative ones as well too, but these are a handful of examples that I've done that for. This is one of my first murals that I also did for Blue Line Arts, and they wanted a concept like sketch to go with it. So I didn't know if I'm going to get in. It's a chosen process, so I don't want to spend tons of hours making something that I don't know if I'm going to get in. Will I do it later for myself? Yeah, you totally should. For the application process and meeting the deadline, I made a simple version, and like if I love this, I can explore it more for myself. Boy, did I love it, because have I niched down on this. So this on the left is just a very simple Photoshop sketch. I'm like, okay, I have an idea in my head. Take pictures of everything, because when you throw away you do want the paper sketch later. When this goes, this whole thing might go really well, and you will have wanted the paper sketch that you threw away, like I did for this. But here's the Photoshop sketch, and then that became this. And then eventually I made a bunch of other photo composite things, just pulling some critters and bubbles. And this painting is just from my imagination, but I used that similar photo compositing process to make the base material for all three of these imaginative paintings, as well as the mural you just saw. And then I wanted something featuring all of them together, so then I cut them apart and made this completely new thing on the left, so I can have all of my little animal friends together without making a brand new painting. Will there be a new painting with animal friends? Yes, there will. But I wanted it now. So I made it using these photo compositing techniques. And then again, getting into that hierarchy of elements in there. Yes, the few of the friends are in this piece, but the turtle is the predominant. I don't have them all the same size because they would be competing with each other if they were all the same. So I decided the turtle will be the largest one, and then they're gonna get kind of scaled back. And then the secret in the back of this painting is a little shooting star, if you were to look for it. And then I used that again for just kind of cooking some ideas with friends. My friend decided like, hey, we should put a mural on the back of this house. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. So it starts like this, and it ends up like this. And some of this was done from my imagination, but what really started, you gotta get those sketches out regardless of whether they're on paper or with your iPad, or maybe it's a photo to trigger your mind later, like I loved this thing that I saw. This helped me reminded me of everything we were talking about, so that 3 months later, this is what got cooked up. but these sketches, whether they're digital or on paper, they're just like a comedian writing a joke on a napkin. You got to write it down so you don't forget it. Some of your best ideas, you just got to scribble them down. Maybe you come back to them in 6 months, or like 6 days or 6 hours, and you just have that little spark to get you going back again. This one was an imagination piece. So this was completely the sketch that I have over here on the left that I drew out of my brain, and then I just put a lot of work into making that happen as the painting. And you might even recognize part of this painting I tried to use in the horse piece over here later, because I had some oranges available in my own body of work. I'm like, oh, well, maybe I can use those to get this other piece started. And they didn't end up in the foreground, they ended up going in the background, but this all came out of my head. And then I just checked a couple of photos, like I think this was in Ventura County. It was supposed to be inspired by orchards in Ventura County, I believe. So I just Google Earth the mountains over there to kind of make sure I have them sloping up the right direction, and just looked at a couple of orchard photos and largely made this happen on canvas the way it happened in my sketch. Can anyone tell how you know this came out of my head? Okay, I'm going to tell you the secret. The secret is that the shadows are wrong. We are suddenly on the same planet as Superman, and there are two suns in different directions, casting shadows in both ways. But it's still beautiful, and I'm happy with it. And I'm really proud of myself because it just came out of my imagination. And you can see little things change. Like, I did try painting the crate going the other way, like as I originally had in my sketch. Something didn't sit right with it, and I had to tilt it the other direction. And then also, this is not as easy as it seems. This painting was a disaster, and this is actually the second canvas. So in complete honesty, this took ages. I probably spent 15 hours working on the first one, threw it in the trash because it was just not happening. And then it started going better for some reason the second time. But I got a lot of practice, and I really got the blues I wanted. I learned how to get the blues I wanted in that whole frustrating aspect of it, so there was still something to take away. All right. So another thing, I could just also have fun with this and paint my cats. It does not have to be a beautiful, heady landscape or descriptive of a whole town municipal. It can just be, I had this great photo of my cats, I crunched them closer together so I could fit them on the canvas. Here's the cat watching me make it happen on my computer, and then I turn it into a painting. And then even recently, this is one of the most recent paintings I finished. Touching base on all of those principles again. I had this little still life in front of me. I didn't paint this from the photo, I did paint it from life, but this is the photo that of the thing I was painting, and then I'm drawing it, I'm sketching and practicing it before I even take it to canvas panel. It's a little hard to see, but there is a rule of thirds grid on that panel in the drawing, and I'm drawing it again by hand on the actual panel itself and then painting it. So yeah, we have that rule of thirds again in there, but I'm drawing, I'm using a basic design principle, and then I'm put up my main medium that I love, that I just am in love with the most, painting that to take it to another level, and still making changes in there because the packaging is actually really complex. There's a lot of little nuances on there, but I'm like, do I really need them? And I decided I didn't, and that I can convey what do I really want to be the point of focus. And I decided I liked this. Almost hits the hot spot. That intersection on the thirds is this little crinkle in the wrappers here. For some reason, that was kind of interesting to me. So it's a little off point, but some of the darkest contrast in the painting versus light is over here. So that was my little intersection of a little interesting thing going on. Okay. Thank you and happy making. I have a small worksheet here if you are so inclined. So I have a handout here. It just has a couple of my processes. Everyone's process is different. So this is just my process. And this is a lot of trial and error, and it's probably going to change. Talk to me again in a couple of years. It's probably be completely, it may be not completely different, but it might have grown or pivoted. But I have a couple of my key points that I think can apply to anyone on here. And I think rule of thirds is like, you can apply this to any medium you're working on. But I have rule of thirds. I really encourage you to take the picture, sketch the thing, write the note if it's in words. Making your own reference material whenever it's possible is just a really great exercise. And you're probably taking pictures or making sketches of things that are important to you. So that's more meaningful for any of your own creativity or making in your own journey, because something about that is resonating with you, because that's why you're making a note of it. So that's maybe something when you're looking to make, you should maybe inspect a little closer. And then lastly, imperfection is practice. And it is practice. Sometimes it can be a little frustrating, but try and be a little bit light with yourself. I know when I start bringing a big attitude to my easel, it's time for a break. Because in my work, I'm really trying to channel some creativity and perseverance and calmness in there. And where I am right now, I don't want to bring any of that angst into my work. I want to get a lot of pleasure and fulfillment in my creative process as well too. Because it's really a gift for yourself, whether it's a sketch or like, hey, I'm going to spend a few hours making this fantastic. But like I said, I had that one, I love this painting so much. I threw away the first one. Trust me, I did us all a favor. It was not good. But it also was really good practice, and I learned a ton out of it. I probably painted 3 times more paintings than I've ever shown. And some of them were just like, oh wow, okay, this is just what happened today. But I still was able to be creative that day and had some fun doing it, if a little bit of frustration, to be honest. But it's also just a good practice to be like, okay, it's not always going to be perfect, but that is part of the process. And I got to all of this stuff from a lot of consistency and repetition, and then I get something beautiful out of it. But yeah, I've got my email on here, and I'm Ciara Cumiskey, and I hope some of this pushes you gently in a good direction to try something a little different for yourself. And to do that, I have what are a few crafty things, just for yourself if you're inclined. What are some of your crafty things you like to do? I have 4 main mediums for myself, depending on what I'm trying to make. What are your things? What are the tools at your disposal? Whether it's, I don't want to have a bunch of art supplies, maybe I just have an iPad and an Apple Pen. Maybe it's just your smartphone and your cloud. What are a few of your favorite things? And just any other notes you want to put in there. But maybe if you're kind of have some time and you're I don't know what to make next, maybe you can kind of use this to simplify that process a little bit. And be kind to yourself when you're making things. Mm-hmm. So thank you. And we have a few minutes for any questions before the cookie break, Lena.
Right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you take a class in Photoshop, or are you self-taught with Photoshop?
Oh, thank you for that question. I'm sorry, what's your name?
Roberta.
Hey, Roberta. So thank you for that question. A little bit of both. When I started, initially I did take a class in Photoshop. That was part of my my training. When I got my associates in graphic design, there was a Photoshop semester in that, and it was actually probably the best I did at graphic design and creativity wise. And then since then I used it intermittently, and I've honed that skill more as I now work as a graphic designer in my day job. So now I have to say I'm a student of YouTube University, where if I'm stumbling, I will Google it in YouTube and watch a video and then try my best. So a little bit of both, but I thought the class was helpful for the foundation. Thank you, Roberta. Yes.
I have a question, about, you use the terminology painting.
Uh-huh.
Are you actually creating this on Photoshop and then you're actually painting it? With acrylic or oil or whatever?
I'm sorry, that's correct. And I'm sorry, what was your name?
Sure.
Shirley. Thank you so much. Yes, that is correct. For these 3 specific pieces, I merged a bunch of photos together, and then I'm going on my computer, and then I'm going completely back to canvas and oil paint
Oh, so you're
at the
creating
easel.
a template.
Yeah, I'm creating. Thank you. That's a great. I'm making my own template because I love that realism. So even in these imaginative scenes I have, I want them to feel kind of close to reality.
It's almost like a head start, like for your, colors and.
Yeah, most of the color, I'll usually just kind of do a lot of the shapes and some of the contrast on there. The colors, I start getting crazy in real life. Like the hippo and the turtle, I didn't make them red or pink in the programs. I kind of just get that base drawing, and then I need to give a little bit of room for my little painting creativity to just kind of fly. Thank you.
So my question kind of builds on that one. Do you ever take your digital work to a point that you print it rather than turn around and paint it?
Ooh. No. So far, no.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did try one digital art piece that was just really fun for myself of a friend, but no, that's actually kind of a lie. Sometimes I draw cartoons and I will digitally paint those. And then print those out. And that's when I'm like painting in my iPad with a pen. On a Procreate
application.
Like on a Procreate application. So yeah, correction. When I'm cartooning, which is one of my more kind of my hobby art, then I do print those digitally. Thank you for that, Linnell. You got my memory going. Any other questions? Okay, was that vaguely helpful?
Totally. Thank you.
Sweet.
Thank you, Ciara. Thank you for this wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Are you guys hearing me? Okay, good. One question before we break. Did every table get a chance to sign up on the snack sheet? Did it hit every table? No. Oh, it didn't get you guys? I think there's a controversy at that table. Okay, with that, we should take a break, and how about we reassemble in 15 minutes? We can have a good 15-minute break.
Praise attention.
Yeah, well, hello, I have a mess here now. It's okay, I'll get over it. Okay.
It's not your mess.
No, that's true, but
It's Bill Robinson's mess.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, here's hoping I don't know. Oh, it is, Bill. Oh my gosh, I thought that was Ciara. It's Bill.
Yeah.
It's Bill's mess. Okay, that's okay
Explain the
because,
right person.
yeah, because that gives you a preview of what's to come. My favorite part is to introduce new members. Do we have any new members in the audience? Whoa. Okay, do we have new members who have brought a piece of their art to show? Okay. Okay, we've got three.
But even if they didn't, bring them to the microphone so we can hear who they are.
Okay, the boss lady says.
Because you guys talk back there, we can't hear you.
Okay, so with that,
Oh,
Debbie,
okay.
how?
These cookies are excellent. I don't know who
Good.
brought these, but oh my God, these are excellent.
Oh,
Right here, he's guilty.
Medi.
I like him a lot better now.
Yeah. Debbie, yes,
Oh, I'm
yes.
first?
Why don't we do that, because I remember, okay, because you and I had a conversation. Okay, so come on up to the microphone. And I'm going to disappear.
All right, my artist's name is Deborah Ann Klensman.
And I started out a lot like Ciara, where I did photography. I started out in commercial work, and I did commercial fashion photography. And my mom painted, oil painted, and so I started painting very, very young. So I started doing portrait photography 2004, and with the portrait photography, I was specializing in people and their pets. So I also added the oil paintings as well. So I do specialize in.
Nice. Go ahead. Yeah.
I specialize in dogs, cats, birds, that sort of thing. It's a cat.
Show the camera, show the camera.
All right.
Very nice.
So, yeah. Any questions?
Well,
Hey.
welcome.
Yeah, great work. Welcome.
Thank you. Who would like to go next?
Marty.
Oh, Marty.
Come on, Marty.
Marty.
Such a pretty.
Hit, Marty.
Okay. Hi, she's a little taller than me. Anyway, I'm Marty Winkler and live here in Camino. I'm a new painter. I took one class from Vanda when she had her place down on Main Street, and I walked in and said, I want to learn how to paint watercolor, and this is 2019. And she said, oh, honey, come here, sit down and draw this thing. Draw an eyeball. And I'm like, all right, but I want to paint watercolor. I don't want to do this, okay? So in her wisdom, though, she was correct, okay? So she actually got me started painting acrylic. So now I'm learning to paint acrylic, and I love it. For me, it just works well. And for you oil painters out there, you'll hate to hear this. I haven't even tried oil yet, but I hear it's really good. So that's one of my goals, is eventually I'm going to try oil. But I'm just learning how to paint, and I come to the Senior Center Tuesdays, and Miss Carolyn, I met her at Sierra Vista Winery last summer, and I kind of tracked her down and found out she was here. So she doesn't know this, but she's kind of my mentor, and she's helping me learn how to paint. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, who would like to go up next? Oh, all right.
Oh, I play with it a little tiny bit. I love it, but acrylic is more where I need to be right now. Okay, just saying. But I'll eventually get all of it.
Mitzi. I was thinking Mitzi.
Oh, Mitzi.
Hi, Mitzi.
I'm Mitzi Shanky. My real name's Michelle, so if you can't find me in the membership list, that's why. Mitzi, yeah. And I was an art major 50 years ago, and then life took over, and I raised a family and went back to school and got a library science degree and a job. And so I'm just now back to painting. For about 10 years, I've been doing watercolors.
Oh,
I just brought,
wow.
this is my son's favorite.
Oh, yeah, back
There.
there. That's watercolors? Nice. Oh, it's beautiful. Well, welcome.
Welcome.
Who's next? Okay. We're gonna go up here. Lori, you're next. Oh, okay.
Hi.
Person, I love it.
Little youngin' up here. My name is Kai Drennan. I am a student. I graduated a couple years ago from the University of California, Davis with an art degree, and I am currently awaiting application decisions from a couple different grad schools here in California. So wish me luck. Recently I've been doing a lot of film photography. So I do black and white 35mm film.
Wow.
I do all the developing at home in my studio, and then I rent out a dark room in Sacramento at PhotoSource and do all my own enlarging and stuff. So
You're a youngin', but you're old school.
Yes.
Yes, we like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually have a digital camera at home that my husband bought me a year or so ago, and it's still in the box. I haven't used it yet, but he's like, oh, like I got you a camera so you can, because I do oil paints and stuff too, but for the last couple years I've been doing film, and he's like, oh, so you can photograph your paintings and, you know, build a website or something, and I'm like, that's so nice, that's so cool, and it's just been sitting in the closet. So yeah, mostly film photography and a little bit of site-specific sculpture. Yeah.
Wonderful.
But happy to be here. Hi, Brennan.
Hi. Yeah. Okay, Lori.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm an old un, not a young un. I retired 2 years ago from medicine and said, now what? Let's do something fun. So I work with wood products and crushed glass. I also do.
Yes, that you're, yeah.
Hello. And I've always loved glass and things that reflect light and holograms and really cool stuff like that. So I love blinging stuff up. So I brought 3 things that I've made out of several, and I'll just show you.
Show the camera so we can all see.
Oh, the light,
Sparkly.
put the light on it. Very nice.
And I sell some with rotating stands for the ones that have glass on the back also. These lights can be red or green or blue, which is kind of fun, or nothing. So this one is a piece of,
Now that one, if you turn it around, it doesn't have a finished back, but I thought it was interesting the way that she inset the larger pieces into the openings on the wood.
That's
Because I had the
stained glass.
opportunity to see it from the back and you guys didn't, and
right.
Yeah.
So I put a few pieces of stained glass that pretty much fit in those holes. So, and the light can shine through
Oh, nice.
some of these stained glass. I have different stands for them. A lot of them are stone, some are wood, some are slate, some are kind of bizarre. But anyway, it's kind of like whatever I find that I think the art may look nice on, I do. This was one of my first ones, and I call it Wave. And it's certainly a piece of driftwood, and thought, you gotta do something cool with this. So this one has got glass all the way around. So on a rotating stand, you're seeing the reflections all the time. And I love that one too. And last but not least, sorry to hog everything here, is I tried different colors, different amounts of color with the crushed glass. And especially if they match the actual stand, it works out pretty well. So I work, again, this is white oak bark. I work with driftwood. I got a piece of wood out of my fire pit and said, oh, it's too nice to burn. So I blinged it up with some glass, and it's one of my favorites. I've gone to Nevada and gotten sagebrush and used sagebrush and again kind of tried to bling that up. one of my friends is a well-known artist, Eric Christensen, and he was up at a gallery up in Tahoe. So we were talking and I showed him stuff and he said, you know, for sagebrush, you've gotta make it pop. And you should get it bronzed and then put the glass on. Well, when I saw the cost of the bronze, I said, when I'm well known, I'll do that. But I sprayed it with gold, and then I put the glass on there, and honestly, it turned out great. So the bark, the firewood, sagebrush, driftwood also. So my husband just kind of cringes when we drive down the road and I go, oh, did you see that? And he's like, nope, I didn't. So anyway, thank you for everything.
Lori, you might want to try California buckeye also. Buckeye is a very strong but lightweight wood, and it has beautiful color to it when the bark is off. So try to scound some of that. I lost a tree a few years ago, and I was amazed at how wonderful the wood that came off, and that's, you know, California buckeye. So
if anybody's got some, keep me in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
I'm Nina Major, and I'm new to the area. I moved up to Lake Tahoe, South Lake Tahoe in 1959, and have lived there all my life up until about 5 months ago. So I'm now in Cameron Park, and it's been a real life adjustment for me. But I started taking art classes when I turned 50 up in Tahoe at the community college, and they have a wonderful art department there. And I studied with Phyllis Schaefer and Dave Russo and, you know, Dave Foster, a few other people like that. I do watercolors and dyes on silk. And mostly I do landscapes and animals, some flowers. And in the during the holidays I do these little wood rounds, and I paint those with acrylic. And they go into shops and things for Christmas ornaments. And that's about it.
Welcome.
nice, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I love this. My goodness, do you see this? New members. This is great.
Maybe you can announce my missing sheet for membership.
What?
I brought the sign-in sheet for membership. What missing?
Hi, Eden.
Hello. So I actually joined sometime last year, but hadn't just not made the meetings before now. So I consider myself brand new because this first meeting I've actually been able to come to, and I did renew. So I'm Eden Halbert. I'm a photographer. And I started back using film like Kai, but back in the 80s. So I wouldn't say an old one, but I'm a midland. And I did it as a hobby back then, and kind of dropped it for a long time. Came back to it around 2011 or so, and started with digital then, and made the full transition to digital a couple years after that. And while I miss film sometimes, and the minute she started talking about the dark room, I was smelling the chemicals in my memory, you know, having a little Proustian moment there. But I have sort of embraced what digital can and can't do, and learned a lot with that. Most of my work is I have work in Gold Country Artist Gallery here in downtown Placerville, and most of what you see there these days is horses and Western things. I do a lot with wild horses, but I also do a ton of other wildlife photography. I just got back from a really fantastic winter in Yellowstone, where I got to photograph foxes and coyotes and things in like 20 degrees below zero, weather, and which takes some specialized equipment and clothing, and also some real perseverance. But for me, it was heaven. It's magical to be out and photographing wildlife. So my goal is to
make those photos real portraits so that it's connecting us to the wild and the wilderness and our lands and being good stewards of our lands and wild things. So so come on down to Gold Country Artist Gallery, see my work, Jean, and I think we've got another artist here too. And I have a day job boarding and training dogs. So all my life is sort of all animals all the time, just in a lot of different capacities. So.
You know the drill. Anybody else? No, huh? Okay, okay, here we go.
Is Bill next? Is Bill next?
No.
No, no.
Bill's gonna be next real soon, you guys.
Soon to be next.
Bill's gonna be next real soon. I did want to just tell you, there is so much information in our newsletter. Is everybody getting the newsletter?
If
Okay.
you're a member, you should be.
Well, Debbie didn't, maybe. But Debbie now hopefully has it because I forwarded it to her. We talk about the future speakers in the newsletter, so I'm not going to name them. We talk about the April challenge. We members, even though we're old members, once a quarter we have a member share. We bring our art in, and we have a theme around the art that we bring in. And April is repurposing art. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, see the newsletter for more and website for more details.
Well, I already told them that.
Well, it's actually it is repurposing art, but it specifically is to procure a piece of thrift store art and then embellish it in some way by either adding unusual colors to it or unusual objects. And you'll see that our example on the website is a classic tall ship surrounded by rubber duckies. So something along those lines. Doesn't have to be funny, it can be serious. Sue Wickersham's already come up with something that just blew my mind when she floated the concept to me. So you can repurpose art too, but specifically it's that put Godzilla in a thrift store painting or thrift store print.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We have
Oh, and we're going to have a contest.
Oh.
We're going to vote on our favorite.
Lindell's got a whole program
I have
planned
agendas.
around it.
Agendas.
I did want to just mention briefly the spring member show, which is starts April 8th, and it runs until April 12th. And it is $10 entry per item. You're allowed 4 pieces of art to enter. And the entry form is on the website. The newsletter, this last month's, February's newsletter, gives you a link to that entry form. So that newsletter has just got a whole bunch of information.
And what's important about the member show this time is we have a new category. It is a novice category. And that category is designed for new artists that might be intimidated about entering an art show. So it gives you a category where your art can go into, and you will find the criteria for that in the newsletter, but it's no ribbons, no awards. And if you've never won a ribbon or an award, you can be in the novice category. But if you don't want to be in the novice category, you can be in the grown-up category.
Well put, Linnell. Couldn't have said it any better. So that brings it up to, we do have 3D art in the member show. And I'm in charge of the pedestals. We've got 6 pedestals, of which 5 are now spoken for. So we've got 1 pedestal left. Sherry, you want it?
Guess what? No more pedestals.
Okay. Okay, I'll put you down. Okay, so the pedestals are taken. Okay, again, we're looking for a board position for special events. It's in the newsletter, read about it. Okay, so with that, we got Bill Robinson. Bill Robinson is coming up to talk to us about banners on parade. Does everybody know about banners on parade?
Does anybody not know
Stealing my
about that?
thunder.
Thank you, that's a better way to ask it.
Forget that. I don't care if you know or not.
Don't talk anyway.
Bill is coming up to talk to us.
You're gonna know in a minute.
Yeah, Bill, the stage is yours.
If I do my job right.
Yeah, and I can help. I can help. Let me put this over here.
Well, I am, at least my name tag says, my name is Bill. And I've been around Placerville a long time, been with this community art project that we now call Banners on Parade for the last 18 years. It's been around for 20. And we now have had 499 banners done up through 2023. And this is the poster that I did for 2023, right here. Shows the fronts and the backs of all 26 banners that we had entry last year. And I did that one right there. So this year, what we're doing is the same thing that we did last year. The difference is the theme. Every year we have a theme. This year it is seasonal splendor. And as I was telling Matt, you could take and leave it all white and call it a whiteout. But don't do that. You can have things like fall time frame in the mountains, or the summer wildflowers, or spring, in the mountains, things like that. And I have these little flyers that I brought. There's some up here on the table, and I've got some here that have the details about where to get the call to artists and the application. It's on our website, which you can download. It's a PDF file. You can fill it out. Deadline is 2 weeks from this Thursday, February 29th.
And that's for your application. You don't have to have your banner painted at that point, because they'll jury who's going to paint a banner.
This is the banner. It's 30 inches wide. This is the back. This is the back of the banner.
Oh, this is the back.
This is the back. This is the front. This is the whiteout portion right here. And it's 30 inches by 60 inches. And we give artists 2 months to paint it. So that's usually enough time. Although artists, being artists, they tend to wait till the last minute and they don't have enough time to finish it. But the big thing is that we want to make sure that artists know that they need to varnish it really well. We really recommend 2 coats of varnish after they get it all painted and after the paint's all dry, because it's going to sit outside for 5 months on those light poles downtown. So you'll have your art displayed for 5 months downtown. And then on the back, this is Images of Hope, which is another organization I've been with since the beginning. And any of you who don't know what we do, it was started by Wendy Goosen, who was the director of the Cancer Resource Center in Cameron Park for Marshall Hospital, and she wanted to do more community reach out. So what we started was what became Images of Hope. And we teach art classes and movement classes to people dealing with cancer and traumas in their lives. And they're all free. So Matt is one of our instructors right there, Matt Hairline. Harlan, I'm sorry.
Nobody says it right.
And he teaches a journaling and watercolor class. And we have a watercolor class. Kathy, if any of you know Kathy Urquhart, she does the Kathy's paint parties in the area. She teaches for us. And we have some Pilates classes. Go ahead, take it. Yeah.
Hold that down.
Yeah. And we have some Pilates classes, some meditation classes, and some basically movement classes. Images of Hope, Eldorado.org is our website. And this is we have, like all nonprofits, we have a fundraiser. And we call it Garden Party in the Orchard, and it's up at Rainbow Orchards in Camino in Apple Hill. And this year it's on Saturday, June 1. And that's how we raise our funds to pay the teachers to teach the students who get to go for free. So, and the other big thing about this is that's the premiere of Banners on Parade for the year. We're gonna have them be there at the fundraiser prior to them going up on Main Street. So I highly encourage you to paint a banner. I'm a photographer, I'm not a painter. And I've painted 4 banners, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been really fun, and it's great, you know, to see your work displayed for 5 months up there. And in fact, if you get a copy of this flyer, you'll see another one of my banners, that Placerville Bell Tower is a banner that I did several years ago, and since I made this flyer, I put my banner on it. Anyway, so let's see, what else can I tell you?
The auction at the end when they come in.
Oh, yes. The way that we do it again every year is it costs, the artist to enter, it costs $30. That's the application fee. The banners themselves are in the neighborhood to us of 120 each, because they're two-sided and they have a liner in between so the light doesn't shine through them to make it look yucky when you've got sun shining through. And at the end of the 5 months, in mid-October roughly, I think it's the 15th to the 25th this year, we do an online auction and we sell the banners. And I've got, at my home, I've probably got 20 of them that I have bought over the last 18 years. And I rotate them and I hang them on my garage, on my house. I've even got one that I'm gonna put in my house. And amazingly enough, if people varnish them well, they last a long time. If they don't, you'll start seeing little things of what's the word?
Cracks, crackling.
Well, cracks and also
Flakes.
yeah, flake, but also mold. You start seeing little. It gets under the seams. The seams are the places where it's the worst, where the pole goes through right here. Those seams are where it normally, if it's going to crack, the paint's going to crack. And we've had artists who have put too much paint on them, really thick, and it just cracks. So you have to kind of, these canvases take the paint really well, and you know, yeah.
Acrylic paint?
Acrylic paints. Yeah.
Okay.
And what else can I say? Anything?
I own 2 of them, have them hanging on the outside of my house, love them. So it's a great way to participate. Whether you choose to paint a banner or support the auction, it's a great way to participate in this event that decorates Main Street for 5 months. It's wonderful.
And one thing, I'll get you to in a minute. What Ciara was talking about during her presentation is a great way to prepare a banner. Because you just turn that horizontal thing that she was working on, you turn it vertically, and you make yourself a nice portrait style. And like with what I've done with mine is I usually do it in Photoshop, get a rendition of it in Photoshop, and I make a big 30-inch by 60-inch size of it and make it a drawing. And then I send it to Minuteman Press here in Placerville, print it out, bring it home, and use that with you know, duplicate paper to underneath to put the image or the basic image on the canvas. So I highly recommend you try it, give it a try. And of course, we only have about 30 slots, 30 places to put banners downtown. So depending on how many we get, how many applications, you may not get chosen.
So you put it up, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just wondering, I know you said you support the classes with the fundraising. Do any of the proceeds go to any other organizations or anything, or is it all in support of classes?
Well, the fundraiser that we have is for, essentially enables us to do the classes. Because all of the classes are free, the materials are free that the instructors supply to the artists. And so we use that to put toward that. We have other events during the year too. If you've ever seen the pink lights downtown, we're the ones that do that. Pink lights in October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we also, last couple of years, we've started doing a quilt auction because we're really big into quilts too. So we had an online quilt auction, and we had the quilts hanging in the various businesses' windows downtown during September, and then we have the quilt auction later in September. Yes?
So just let me understand, you apply, pay $30, but you don't have to have a concept yet.
You apply with
No,
your concept.
you do, because you have to include a drawing.
Oh, you do, okay, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, then how do they
The
choose?
third page, there's two
Okay.
pages to the application.
Okay.
Not a lot to fill in, but there's 2 pages, and then the third page is where you put your drawing.
Okay, so you do have to have.
Yes, and a color drawing we prefer.
Okay.
So, any other? Yes?
You mentioned something earlier, but did you mention that there's prizes? And who
Oh.
is your judge this year?
We don't know who the judge is yet. And judging by this year, we don't know who the judge is going to be yet. But the prizes, we have judges who are usually local art people. Linnell was one of the judges last year. And who was the other?
Lucia, one of our
Lucia.
previous presidents.
Yes. Lucia Rothka. And they had a good time doing it.
We did, it was great. Really enjoyed ourselves. Gave Bill an award, didn't know it was his when we gave it to him.
There you go.
It's blind judging.
Had she known. But the awards, we have first, second, third, 3 honorable mentions. First place prize is $100. Second is $50. Third is $25. The honorable mentions don't get anything except honorable mention. And we have some folks who donate money as prizes. We had a board member, the Art on Parade board member, years ago when we first started, by the name of Jeff Boyd. And he passed away in 2011, I believe it was. And somebody, an anonymous donor every year, donates $250, actually $300, because they give $250 to the banner that they like and $50 to the back of the banner that they like.
Huh.
And then we have another, Mary Ann Calum. Anybody know that name? She was one of the founders of the banners concept for us back in 2007. And she passed away in 2018, I believe. So her family, her son, gives $250 to the banner that they like. And so and then we also have, last year we started it at the Images of Hope fundraiser. When we show all the banners, we did what do you call it?
People's Choice?
Pardon?
People's Choice?
People's Choice, thank you. We did a People's Choice Award. So it was fun, and it's great to be able to see them up close and personal too at the event. Yeah.
Okay, do we design a front and a back?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know you want to do it.
I want to, I don't want to.
You know you want to do it. You don't have to do a lot on the back.
That you do the back
The sunset and the paintbrush on it.
because we
Cover up the writing.
we show them, and last year there was only one person who did not paint the back. And that was the first year we'd ever had that, where we were just about everybody painted the back. And it was great because if you look at the backs, they're incredible. Judy Arigati, who you might know,
Yes.
painted this one right here, and it's a self-portrait of her painting the banner. And on mine, I just reversed it, so it was kind of the back of that.
But you leave the logo.
Yes, leave the
Okay.
logo. We like people to leave the logo because that's who we are. And we like people to know that, so.
And the front and back does show when they're hanging on Main Street.
There are a few locations that are kind of iffy, and we pick the locations randomly except for number 1. The number 1 banner goes right at the corner of Sacramento and Main. As you come into town, you'll see it. But the rest of them, we put all numbers in a hat and do a random choice as to who goes where. So grab one of these little things here and take it home and apply. It's really fun it's a really fun project, and this is our 20th year.
Tony and her mom Donna almost always
We're already plotting it.
Yeah, okay.
We're already working on it.
And we've had well over 200 artists and several organizations. You can apply as an organization too. We've had folks from Moore. In fact, there was one year where we had 5 different groups from Moore do 5 different banners. And they were great. They were great banners. And we've had other organizations that have done banners as a group. So, yeah.
Sorry, what was the theme?
Seasonal splendor. Yeah. Seasonal splendor. And that was suggested by one of our previous artists too. So, that's it. That's all.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. Bill, personally, I'm curious, how long have you been a member of PAA?
Probably 20 years.
20. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay,
2004. 2004, I think.
2004, okay. Marilyn beats everybody. Marilyn back there.
Marilyn's our historian.
Yes, I became a member in '06, so we're close. I was thinking you were much further
I wasn't.
beyond, yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Let me think here. Did everybody get emailed the roster of all the members? And that would be the members for 2023. We had over 200 members then, and we're gonna probably beat that in 2024. Okay, did anybody not get an email? You didn't get the roster?
I don't think so, but I did get the February newsletter.
Okay, because the roster came,
It was an email blast.
was it before or after the newsletter? I think
Before.
it was before. Okay, it would have come through as Placerville Arts Association. Okay. All right. Another wonderful thing is we're just thinking, but we're thinking we might want to join the Chamber of Commerce. Wouldn't that be cool? Everybody hold your applause. What it means. Linnell.
We have a couple of goals with the thought of that. One is to raise awareness for our organization in the greater business community. And there are 2 things that we hope to accomplish. One is, can we find additional venues for our art shows? One of the things we struggle with is we could produce more art shows for you every year, but we struggle with finding an appropriate place to do that. So maybe rubbing shoulders with some of the business people would give us some ideas. The second thing that we would be hoping to accomplish would be to find some additional sponsorship for our Motherlode art exhibition. And when we approach local businesses about that, the concern is our show is actually held down in the Sacramento area. But if we make contact with these people through an organization like the Chamber of Commerce, it gives us more legitimacy as being from Placerville. And we're now doing our 58th National Motherlode Art Exhibition. So we've been doing this for a very, very long time, and we don't do it up here because we cannot find a suitable venue to do it in up here. So we end up doing it in Sacramento where we can actually get a gallery. But that's our thought about joining the Chamber of Commerce. We're going to go to a couple of meetings before we actually turn the money over and see if it's a fit for us.
So it's all about networking. Along those lines, last year for the first time, PAA put its face out there at the county fair, and Linnell was the face of PAA. And it is amazing the notoriety that we've received from being there. And it's getting us involved in the community. More and more people are learning about us because we are the oldest organization, not just art, but the oldest organization in Placerville.
Well, I don't know if we can say that, because I mean, there's the hardware store.
But that's a business. That's a business.
There's the hardware store. We cannot compete with the hardware store.
But I have to tell you, we've been around the block a few times, and I just can't tell you, but the last couple of years we are thriving, absolutely thriving. If you look around this room, I mean, there were times when maybe we had 20 come to our member meeting. So, and Linnell and I thank you for that, for your support and your membership. You guys are great. You're great. Okay, so the Motherlode Show is going to be at the MAC in November. Well, I was going to say March.
No.
Because I saw the M for MAC, so it was going to be March. No, it's November. But I did want to just say, and again, it's in the newsletter, but we're going to a different online entry, and we're excited about it. It's called Cafe. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but we're excited to try this new online entry.
Our old entry form was Entry Thingy, and he increased his prices 50% for this year, and it made going to Cafe cost effective because it's not going to cost us any more, and we get more services through Cafe. So partly it was a financial decision.
So he increased his prices and decreased his service, and we said, not for us. And I did want to mention that we are going to be back in the county fair in June. And again, Linnell is going to
and
run.
Fab Soa will do photography. So Linnell does fine arts, Fab does photography, and a number of people in this room volunteered at the fair. Roberta, Tony back there, Carolyn, I think she just won. She didn't actually show up. And but it's very, I think Jerry contributed some stuff to the fair, but it's very helpful if you guys will volunteer when it comes around to June to help sit the fair. 18,000 people walked through those gates last year. It was amazing.
Again, the notoriety, people know us now. Yes, Jerry.
Well, and not only do we want you to volunteer, we want you to enter the fair.
Yeah.
We have so many wonderful artists, and we want the community to see what you guys produce. So please enter the fair.
It's not fair that Carolyn always wins.
And the theme, in case you care, is Barrows, Boots, and Bling. Or Boots, Barrows, and Bling, or Bling.
I think it's Barrows first.
Barrows, Boots, and Bling.
Meaning wheelbarrows.
There's also an award that's given by PAA, Spirit of the Ciara. So if you have something that's sort of related to
like a river painting, like Carolyn won with last year.
You know, just whatever floats your boat. Also, there's a plein air competition involved at the fair. Not all of us are plein air painters. We don't get a lot of participation, but
Carolyn didn't win because she was out of town that day.
I did. It takes at least, I believe it's a minimum of 5 entrants. What you do is you take your canvas or your watercolor thing that day, or even, I suppose, a sketch pad. I don't know if it has to be a painting. You check in, I think you have to pay some money, but then you get free tickets to the fair. They stamp your canvas so that you can't just walk in with an already painting, and then they have a certain number of hours during which I think it's a 4-hour window during which you do your painting, finished or not, you turn it in, they judge it, and they award it, and I guess from what I understand, the first place winner gets theirs purchased by the fair. So, price it high.
Yeah, and our winner last year knew that. Vesla Hooper knew that if she came in first place, first she knew how to play the game. She volunteered to intake the paintings for plein air because she wanted to make sure that enough showed up that there was going to be a big cash award for first place, okay? So she waited, she got everybody checked in, and she was the one that qualified the whole group for the cash award because she entered at that point. And she also knew that if she got first place, the fair was going to buy her painting. And so she put $250 on her painting, which was a small painting, and they gasped a little bit, but they bought it. So Vesla made $350 at the fair last year. So when you're talking about awards, typically the fair awards are really tiny. But boy, that plein air is a place that you can do really well. And I might even plein air paint this year. And I'm not a plein air painter.
I plein air painted, and I was a little nervous. I didn't do it this last time because I'd never been to the El Dorado County Fair, and I just kind of wanted to see what was there and what was paintable. And I asked Vesla, I said, don't you get nervous with all these people watching you? She says, it's only little kids that have the nerve to come up and talk to you while you're painting. The adults are like, she might ask me to buy it. I don't want it. So you just bring your stuff and paint. Last year, one of my favorite paintings, well, of course, besides Vesla's, somebody painted, was it a corn dog?
It was a corn dog. I love the corn dog.
On a paper plate and a drink. It was watercolor, and it was very nicely done. It was very simple. So it can be just about anything fair related. Well, it's got to be something at the fair there, but you keep it pretty simple in 4 hours. There's plenty of time to do something like that.
And the call for entries are open. You can paint in acrylic, you can paint in oil. There's landscape, various categories that you can enter in. And there's amateur, novice, semi-pro, and pro. And this year, semi-pro and pro will be judged together. Because last year, we had a huge category of semi-pro, and we had a very small category of pros. And frankly, those pros were no more pro than all the semi-pros, because I know all of you. So that was it. That category is going away. And so semi-pros and pros together now.
Okay, it just is an example of how active this organization is. We're getting our fingers in everything. I know we need to wrap up, but one other thing is Linnell. The first time I did this, it was Carolyn. Now it's Linnell. Linnell is looking into an August pop-up, which is still in its infancy, but looking at possibly a building to rent for a week, a month, whatever, on Main Street, where artists would set up shop for that period of time. But that's not in the newsletter. But that's being looked into.
That's right now, and Carolyn's in my head.
Yeah. Jerry Litwin, our treasurer, has suggested that we do in the newsletter, we do have our monthly art lunch. Okay, what doesn't matter. But we do have an art lunch once a month. What Jerry would like to do.
It's because I like to eat out.
Yeah. Linnell organizes that, and Jerry's come up with the idea that we incorporate an art lunch with going to a gallery, or 2 or 3. And so it would mean that it would be the whole afternoon. And so we're kind of looking at maybe Wednesday, March 20th, where we would have lunch in Folsom. And Jerry's got 3 local galleries in Folsom targeted. So that might be something that you guys might enjoy, and that will be in the newsletter. Okay? Again, that newsletter is our Bible.
And you only get that if you join PAA. It will not come to your inbox if you're not a member. You may be still getting it residual from last year, but at some point, she will cut it off. So join PAA.
And this is just quick and then we're done. Beverly Fields has moved. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Beverly Fields. She is a renowned, Marilyn, is she a watercolorist?
Yes.
Okay, and she is internationally known. She is amazing. She used to live here, and the past couple of months she has moved to the Palm Springs area, Desert Hot Springs. And she is doing a class in Mendocino in February. March 11th. And I don't know if you guys are interested or you know, but Beverly Fields has left the building.
Do you have her address? Because we'd all like to go visit her in Desert Hot Springs.
In Desert Hot Springs. That'd be no. Okay, with that, oh, yes.
I would like to say something. Beverly Fields had an estate sale, or a sale, and the people who were in charge, they just gave her stuff away.
Oh. Why didn't you tell us before?
And just let me say, you guys, if you ever are downsizing, that one of the things that we've been doing for the last year or so is we have been accepting donations of your leftover art supplies. Annabelle's got some for me today, and also your art. Now, what I did last year is I took a large donation from Lucia Rotgab, and I have, my gallery is in my art barn, and it's kind of remote, but I do some pop-up events every year. I do a barn tour event a couple times a year, sometimes art tour. But I promoted Lucia's art over the last year, and the sales have gone to benefit our outreach fund. Every bit of what I sell in Art Barn from any of your donations goes directly to our outreach fund. And Lucia's art alone in the last year has put over $500 into our outreach fund. So rather than giving it to Goodwill and crashing the price of your art, donate it to Placerville Art, and we will try to get a reasonable price for it. We also do silent auctions at our member shows. Those benefit outreach. So donations of your art, even if you're not downsizing, can benefit our outreach fund through that silent auction.
Okay, I wasn't quite finished. Okay.
Sorry.
I have a lot of her work. If anybody's interested, I will give it to you, or I will donate it.
And I'll add a wall for her in Art Barn.
It's in the garage. I'm never going to hang it.
Yeah, just reach out to me, LynellePhillips@AOL.com, and we'll make a time for me to come over and pick it up from you, because it's a great way to help the organization.
Okay, with that, thank you all for your fabulous attention.